We were probably in the world's most ideologically remote country. No sooner had we hit the ground in Pyongyang than our pre-arranged schedule was on. On the face of it, Pyongyang is a surprisingly attractive, unoppressive city, free from the grime and claustrophobia of other Asian capitals. It was, of course, razed to the ground during the Korean War in the early 1950s and has been totally rebuilt. Kim Il-sung is the only leader North Korea has known. And 10 months after his death, they appear to be having a hard time adjusting to life without his omnipotent presence. Call it deification, or even that pat Western phrase, the cult of the personality, but this happens here every day. Thousands paying homage to a dead leader. Whether it's indoctrination or just an extreme form of misguided loyalty, the result is an almost religious conviction that one man had all the answers.
There should be one leader who can understand what's the collective need, right? And also there must be a leader who can lead, channel the collective efforts into something which collective desired. Otherwise, the social disorder will arise. So according to our conception of society, there must be a leader. And the leader is quite different from the individual. In this respect, I quite strongly object to the term personality cult concerning our great leader.
Next morning, our itinerary said we were off to the Sangwon cement factory. And to the Sangwon cement factory we went. Not what you might expect, but this 2 million tonne a year high-tech operation, controlled by a handful of technocrats from this fully computerised base, overseen by the great leader himself. What did the great leader say when he came here?
He said, well, we should should manage the production process in a successful way so that increase the production.
Later, we popped into a Cheong Ban Ri, a cooperative farm, the North Korean equivalent of the old Soviet collectives. They did acknowledge that this was a model farm. So model, in fact, that the immaculate paddy workers didn't even smudge their makeup. At the moment, the North Koreans are dreaming of a free trade zone to kick-start their moribund economy. But it's still a long way from reality. There was no hiding the country's economic situation. On the one hand, grand showpieces like this, and on the other, stagnation, failed commercial and industrial projects. This is one of the government's prize showpieces, the West Sea Barrage, an ambitious project on the coast west of Pyongyang, aimed at harnessing fresh water at the mouth of the Taedong River. It was completed in 1986, but with no more Soviet money to prop it up, the economy as a whole remains in an economic coma. This thing, the Tower of Juche, is one of the reasons for their self-confidence. It's their symbol of self-reliance. But we had to wonder if that shouldn't be self-delusion.
How do you feel about the fact that almost every country in the world that was communist or socialist no longer is, and probably only Cuba and your country, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, hold to this socialist philosophy?
Was actually in the Eastern European countries, socialism collapsed. But it is the socialism of the Eastern European style, not the socialism in true sense. So their collapse means superiority of socialism and the collapse of opportunism. They were steadfast to the principle of socialism. First, they didn't go among the people and didn't rely upon the people.
This is Pyongyang's Universal Studios, as it were. But there are those, of course, who would argue that this entire country is one big film set. And according to the script, this man, Kim Il-sung's eccentric son, Kim Jong-il, should have succeeded him by now. But officially, this is yet to happen. So at this point, it's difficult to tell exactly who's directing the show in North Korea. Behind the scenes, there's talk of an ongoing power struggle between the old guard and a new generation of technocrats who want to open the door to the West in a bid to revive the seriously flagging economy. From an early age, North Korean children are taught the myth. And at places like this, the Children's Palace, this is reinforced over and over again. In his role as a self-styled child psychologist, the great leader certainly put a lot of work and money into kids. After all, who can resist a beautiful child, let alone a beautiful smiling child, or it seemed to us, an entire nation of beautiful smiling children. But if this place was their most potent mind drug, then we were in grave danger of ODing. They went too far. Or maybe we Westerners can't tell the difference between exploitation and enthusiasm. You tell me. This is a nation built on mass adulation and mass mobilisation, and we saw them in action simultaneously. This was the ostensible official reason for our being here, the International Sports and Culture Festival for Peace. 150,000 invited locals, 50,000 performers, 20,000 foreign guests, and this motley crew, refugees from the weird world of Western wrestling. For whatever reason, wrestlers, male or female, are celebrities here, sporting superstars. And aside from mass gymnastics, at which the North Koreans are clearly gold medal winners, wrestling, all of it tacky, was the only sport at the sports festival. And the final bout of the festival, the local hero versus the imperialist warmonger, the USA. And I'm sure many of the delirious North Korean fans still think it was for real. And who wins this most brutal exchange since the confrontation over this country's reputed nuclear capability? You guessed it. It was impossible not to draw the analogy between this incongruous event and North Korea wrestling, as it were, with the realities of the post-communist world. As a correspondent, one of the handful of places in the world you wonder whether you'll get to see is the 38th parallel, marking the demilitarised zone between North and South Korea. On this side, the North, there are God knows how many troops. And literally a few decent strides away in the South, 40,000 US military personnel, and behind them, if the DPRK can be believed, 1,000 nuclear weapons.
이런 기술적인 문제, 능력이 없습니다. 그래서 핵 문제가 복잡하게 된 거는 미국이 남선에 핵무기를 끌어들이고 이거를 정당화하기 위해서 우리의 핵 문제를 거기에다 우리를 끌고 들어왔습니다. 그래서 지금 우리는 핵 개발을 위해서 평화적 목적으로 위해서 발전소 이걸 지금 시작했댔습니다.
The reality of the DMZ drives home that this whole great leader, dear leader thing, whatever else it is a way of mobilising 22 million North Koreans against the threat of attack, real or imagined, from the Americans in the South. Rightly or wrongly, since the Korean War, they believe they've been fighting for their survival. Now, slowly, almost imperceptibly, they appear to be accepting that their old way of fighting, like the ancient Oriental martial arts, has been superseded by history. If our visit, as manipulated as it was any indication, they may also have accepted that clinging to a superseded ideology like communism in an almost completely non-communist world is also not very smart. Maybe the hermit kingdom is coming out of its cave, or at least they're thinking about it.